Crash landing and first contact. The sleek interstellar vessel Horizon shuddered violently as it plummeted through the atmosphere of Kepler 186f, a planet that had long been theorized to harbor life. Captain Ilara Chen gripped her command chair, her knuckles white as she barked orders to her crew. Thrusters at maximum. Redirect all power to the heat shields, she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. Lieutenant Marcus O'Keefe's fingers danced across his console, desperately trying to stabilize their descent. "It's no use, Captain. The gravitational pull is too strong. We're going down." The ship's AIA, chimed in with its maddeningly calm voice. "Impact imminent. Survival probability, 62.8%. Ilara's mind raced. They had come so far, crossing light years of space to make first contact with an alien civilization. Now, it seemed their mission might end before it truly began. "Brace for impact," she shouted, closing her eyes as the horizon careened towards the planet's surface. The world became a cacophony of screeching metal and blaring alarms. Then, darkness. When Ilara regained consciousness, the first thing she noticed was the smell, earthy and slightly sweet, unlike anything she'd encountered before. She blinked, her vision slowly focusing on a canopy of iridescent leaves above her. Groaning, she sat up, taking stock of her surroundings. The horizon lay in pieces around her, scattered across a clearing in what appeared to be a bioluminescent forest. Relief washed over her as she saw other crew members stirring. "Sound off," she called out. "Who's injured?" As her team responded, Ilara's attention was drawn to movement at the edge of the clearing. Her heart raced as she realized they weren't alone. Emerging from the glowing foliage were beings unlike anything humans had ever encountered. They stood on 3 legs, their bodies covered in a shimmering sphere-like surface that seemed to change color with each movement. Their heads were adorned with delicate, feather-like appendages that twitched and swayed, and where eyes should have been, they had a cluster of small glowing orbs. Ilara held her breath, acutely aware that this moment would shape the future of both their species. She slowly raised her hands, palms outward, in what she hoped would be a universal gesture of peace. To her amazement, one of the aliens mirrored her gesture. It then produced a sound, a melodic humming that seemed to resonate within Ilara's very bones. Marcus, who had made his way to Ilara's side, whispered in awe, "Captain, I think they're trying to communicate." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. Their xenolinguistics training had prepared them for this moment, but the reality was far more extraordinary than they could have imagined. She turned to her communications officer, Ensign Yuki Tanaka. "Yuki, see if you can isolate any patterns in their vocalizations. Maybe we can establish a basic form of communication." As Yuki worked, the aliens began to approach the crash site. Their movements were graceful, almost hypnotic. They seemed curious about the wreckage, touching pieces of the ship with appendages that extended from their bodies like tendrils. Dr. Zara Osei, the team's xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Captain, their bioluminescence, it's changing in response to their environment, and look at the way they interact with the plant life. It's as if they're in perfect symbiosis with their surroundings." Ilara nodded, taking it all in. Despite the dire circumstances of their arrival, she couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. This was why they had come, to discover, to learn, to connect with life beyond Earth. One of the aliens approached Ilara, its feather-like appendages swaying gently. It extended a tendril towards her, holding what appeared to be a piece of fruit, bioluminescent, like everything else on this world. Ilara hesitated, looking to Dr. Osei. The xenobiologist nodded encouragingly. "It appears to be an offering, Captain. A gesture of goodwill, perhaps." Taking a deep breath, Ilara accepted the fruit. The alien's orbs pulsed with a soft light, and it emitted a series of musical tones that somehow conveyed a sense of approval. Cautiously, Ilara took a small bite. The flavor exploded on her tongue, sweet and tangy, with an underlying complexity that defied description. More importantly, she felt no adverse effects. "It's safe," she announced to her crew. And incredible. The tension in the clearing seemed to dissipate. The crew of the Horizon and the aliens began to mingle, curiosity overcoming caution on both sides. Yuki approached Elara, her eyes wide with excitement. "Captain, I think I'm starting to decipher some basic patterns in their communication. It's not just sound, it's a combination of vocalizations, bioluminescent signals, and even subtle electromagnetic pulses." Elara smiled. "Excellent work, Ensign. Keep at it. The sooner we can establish meaningful communication, the better." As the day progressed, the humans worked to salvage what they could from the Horizon while continuing to interact with the aliens. They learned that the beings called themselves the Harmony, at least, that was the closest English approximation, and their society seemed to be built on principles of balance and interconnectedness with their environment. As night fell, or what passed for night on this planet with its multiple moons, Elara gathered her crew for a briefing. "All right, team, we're in uncharted territory here, both literally and figuratively. Our primary mission remains the same, to establish peaceful contact and learn about this new civilization. But we also need to focus on survival and finding a way to contact Earth." Marcus raised his hand. "Captain, I've been working with ARIA to analyze our situation. The good news is that most of our critical systems are intact. With some repairs, we should be able to get a distress beacon operational." Elara nodded. "Good. Make that your top priority, Lieutenant. Dr. Osei, I want you to focus on studying the local flora and fauna. If we're going to survive here, we need to know what's safe and what isn't." "With pleasure, Captain," Zara replied, her eyes gleaming with the prospect of groundbreaking research. "Yuki, continue working on cracking their language. And everyone, remember your training. We're guests here, and our actions will shape humanity's relationship with the Harmony for generations to come." As the briefing concluded, Elara stepped away from the group, gazing up at the alien sky. The magnitude of their situation washed over her. They were the first humans to set foot on this world, to make contact with this incredible species. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew that this was a moment that would echo through history. A soft humming drew her attention. One of the Harmonies stood nearby, its orbs pulsing gently. It gestured towards the stars with one of its tendrils, then back to Elara. Though she couldn't understand its words, Elara felt she grasped the meaning. "You came from up there. Why?" She smiled, pointing to herself, then to the alien, then clasping her hands together. "To meet you," she said softly. "To learn, to understand." The Harmony's appendages swayed, and its hum took on a tone that Elara could have sworn sounded like approval. As they stood there, human and alien, gazing at the star-strewn sky, Elara felt a profound sense of hope. Their mission had begun in chaos, but it had led them to this moment of connection. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Elara knew that humanity's first steps into this wider universe were ones of peace and mutual curiosity. And that, she thought, was a foundation upon which great things could be built. The looming threat. As days turned into weeks, the crew of the Horizon found themselves settling into an uneasy rhythm on the alien world they now called Harmony, after its inhabitants. Captain Elara Chen watched from a makeshift command center as her team worked tirelessly to repair their equipment and learn more about their new environment. Ensign Yuki Tanaka approached, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough in communicating with the Harmony. Their language is incredibly complex, combining vocalizations, bioluminescent patterns, and electromagnetic frequencies. But we've developed a rudimentary translation algorithm." Elara smiled, feeling a surge of pride in her crew's accomplishments. "Excellent work, Ensign. This could be the key to understanding their civilization better." As if on cue, one of the Harmony glided into the camp. The crew had taken to calling this particular individual Crescendo due to the musical quality of its vocalizations. Crescendo's feather-like appendages rippled with a pattern of blue and green lights. Yuki activated the translation device, and a synthetic voice emerged, translating Crescendo's complex communication. "Greetings, Skyfallen. We bring urgent news. The great rhythm falters." Ilara frowned, sensing the gravity in Crescendo's tone. "Can you elaborate, Crescendo? What is the great rhythm?" The translation came through haltingly. "The great rhythm, balance of our world, cycles of life, death, rebirth. It weakens. Signs of discord grow." Dr. Zara Osei, who had been listening nearby, stepped forward. "Captain, I think I understand. Remember how I mentioned the symbiotic relationship between the harmony and their environment? It seems they're detecting some kind of ecological imbalance." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "Crescendo, how serious is this imbalance? Is there anything we can do to help?" The alien's appendages swayed in what they had come to recognize as a gesture of uncertainty. Severity, unknown, but signs troubling. Seasons shift too quickly. Harmonic plants wither. Some fear the great silence approaches. The translation device couldn't capture the full depth of emotion, but the crew could sense the distress in Crescendo's posture and bioluminescent patterns. Lieutenant Marcus Okafor joined the group, his face etched with concern. "Captain, I've been monitoring the planet's geomagnetic activity as part of our attempts to boost our distress signal. There's been an alarming increase in instability over the past few days." Ilara's expression hardened. She turned back to Crescendo. "We may be able to help. Our technology allows us to analyze environmental patterns in ways you might not be able to. Would your people accept our assistance?" Crescendo's lights pulsed rapidly, a sign they had come to associate with strong emotion. Some would welcome Skyfallen help. Others, fear outside interference, must consult the Harmony Elders. As Crescendo glided away to confer with its leaders, Ilara gathered her senior staff. "All right, team, it looks like we stumbled into a potential ecological crisis. Ideas?" Dr. Osei spoke up first. "Captain, if we could access the Horizon's main computer core, we might be able to run advanced simulations of the planet's ecosystems. It could help us understand what's causing the imbalance." Marcus nodded in agreement. "The core is intact, but it's in a section of the ship that we haven't been able to reach safely. We'd need to mount an expedition." "Make it happen," Ilara ordered. "Zara, you and Marcus will lead a team to retrieve the computer core. Yuki, I want you to continue improving our communication with the Harmony. If we're going to help, we need to understand their perspective fully." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Ilara couldn't shake a feeling of unease. They had come to Harmony as explorers, but now found themselves potential saviors of an alien world. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. Hours later, Marcus and Zara returned from the wreckage, triumphantly carrying the Horizon's computer core. As they set up the equipment, a commotion at the edge of the camp caught Ilara's attention. A group of Harmony approached, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in complex, agitated sequences. Crescendo was among them, along with several others they hadn't met before. One Harmony, larger than the others with intricate, swirling patterns across its body, moved to the forefront. Yuki's translation device crackled to life. "I am Resonance, Elder of the Seventh Harmonic. We have debated your offer of assistance. Our people are divided." Ilara stepped forward, her posture open and non-threatening. "We understand your concerns, Elder Resonance. We only wish to help if we can. Perhaps if you could share more about the nature of the Great Rhythm and how it's changing, we might find a way forward together." Resonance's appendages swayed thoughtfully. "The Great Rhythm is the pulse of our world. For eons it has guided the flow of life, but now discordant notes emerge. The soaring fronds wilt before their time. The luminous tides recede. Some among us believe this is a natural cycle. Others fear catastrophe approaches." As Resonance spoke, Dr. Osei's eyes widened in realization. She whispered urgently to Ilara, Captain, I think I understand. Their entire ecosystem is interconnected in ways we've never seen before. It's not just symbiosis, it's a planet-wide network of life. Ilara nodded, then addressed Resonance. Elder, we have technology that might help us understand the changes in your world. We don't seek to interfere, only to provide information that could help you make informed decisions. Resonance's lights pulsed slowly, deliberating. Finally, it responded, "We will accept your offer of knowledge. But know this, Skyfallen, if your actions threaten the great rhythm, we will have no choice but to silence your discord." The implied threat was clear, but Ilara maintained her composure. "We understand, Elder Resonance. We'll work closely with your people every step of the way." As the Harmony delegation departed, Ilara turned to her crew. "All right, people, the stakes just got a lot higher. We're not just explorers anymore. We're guests on a world in crisis. Let's show them what humanity can do when we put our minds to it." The team worked tirelessly through the night, analyzing data and running simulations. As dawn broke, a spectacular display of colors across Harmony's sky, Dr. Ozai burst into Ilara's makeshift quarters. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tinged with urgency. Ilara followed Zara to the command center, where a holographic display showed a model of Harmony's planetary system. Marcus looked up from his console, his face grim. "We've identified the problem, Captain," he said, "and it's bigger than we thought, way bigger." The hologram zoomed in, showing Harmony and its moons. One moon glowed an ominous red. Marcus continued, "That moon is on a collision course with Harmony. Impact is estimated in 6 months." Ilara stared at the display, the magnitude of the situation sinking in. They had come to this world seeking new life and new civilizations. Now they found themselves in a race against time to save an entire planet. She squared her shoulders, her voice steady as she addressed her team. "Well then, we've got work to do. Let's save this world." As the crew sprang into action, Ilara gazed out at the alien landscape, its beauty now tinged with the knowledge of its fragility. Whatever happened next, she knew that the true test of humanity's place among the stars was about to begin. Race against time. The news of the impending lunar collision sent shockwaves through both the human crew and the Harmony civilization. Captain Ilara Chen stood before a gathering of Harmony elders, her voice steady as she explained the situation using holographic projections from the salvaged Horizon technology. The moon's orbit has been destabilized, likely due to a combination of factors including solar flares and gravitational anomalies, Ilara said, gesturing to the swirling hologram. "If we don't act, the impact will devastate your world." Elder Resonance's appendages rippled with a mix of colors that the translation device interpreted as a combination of fear and skepticism. "How can we trust your predictions, Skyfallen? Our world has endured for eons." Dr. Zara Osei stepped forward, her eyes alight with the fervor of scientific discovery. "Elder, we've correlated our data with the changes you've observed in the Great Rhythm. The wilting of the soaring fronds, the receding luminous tides, they're all symptoms of the moon's changing orbit. Your world is already feeling the effects." As the elders conferred among themselves in a symphony of hums and flashing lights, Lieutenant Marcus Okafor approached Ilara. "Captain," he whispered, "I think I might have a solution, but it's risky, and we'll need the Harmony's help." Ilara nodded. "Let's hear it." Marcus pulled up a new hologram, showing a series of devices placed around Harmony's equator. "If we can construct a network of gravitational pulse generators around the planet, we might be able to create a field strong enough to alter the moon's trajectory." "That's ambitious," Ilara said, studying the projection. "Do we have the resources to build something like this?" "That's the catch," Marcus replied. "We don't, not on our own. But if we could combine our technology with the Harmony's knowledge of planetary energies, we might have a chance." Ilara turned back to the elders, who seemed to have reached a consensus. Elder Resonance approached, its lights pulsing slowly. We have deliberated, Skyfallen. While some among us remain wary, we cannot ignore the evidence. What do you propose? Taking a deep breath, Elara outlined Marcus's plan. As she spoke, she could see the ripples of reactions spreading through the assembled harmony. Some pulsed with colors of hope, others with skepticism, and a few with what she had come to recognize as outright hostility. This plan, Elder Resonance said slowly, it would require us to manipulate the great rhythm on a scale never before attempted. We understand the gravity of what we're asking, Elara replied, but we believe it's the best chance to save your world and yourselves. After what seemed like an eternity, Elder Resonance's appendages settled into a pattern that Elara had learned to associate with determination. We will cooperate, Skyfallen, but know that if your actions bring harm to the great rhythm, the consequences will be severe. With the Harmony's cautious agreement secured, the real work began. The next weeks were a flurry of activity as humans and aliens worked side by side to construct the gravitational pulse generators. The fusion of Earth technology and Harmony bioengineering was nothing short of miraculous. Ensign Yuki Tanaka found herself working closely with a young Harmony she had nicknamed Cadence. Together, they tackled the challenge of integrating the aliens' innate understanding of planetary energies with the humans' command of advanced physics. It's fascinating, Yuki said one day as they calibrated a generator. Your people's connection to this world, it's like you're part of a living, breathing organism. Cadence's lights pulsed in a pattern Yuki had come to recognize as amusement, and your people's ability to shape the physical world, it is equally wondrous. Perhaps together, we can achieve what neither could alone. But as the work progressed, not everyone was pleased with the collaboration. A faction of Harmony, led by an elder named Dissonance, began to actively oppose the project. They viewed the human intervention as a threat to their way of life and the natural order of their world. One night, as the team was preparing to activate the first cluster of generators, alarms blared across the camp. Elara rushed to the scene to find Marcus and several Harmony technicians, desperately trying to contain an explosion. Sabotage, Marcus growled, his face smeared with soot. Someone deliberately overloaded the power core. Elara's jaw clenched. Casualties. Minor injuries only, thankfully, but we've lost days of work. As they surveyed the damage, Elder Resonance approached, its lights pulsing with a mixture of anger and shame. This violence, it is not our way. I fear Dissonance and his followers have gone too far. Elara placed a hand on the alien's smooth surface, a gesture of solidarity they had developed. We've come too far to let this stop us now. We'll rebuild together. The setback was significant, but it also served to galvanize both humans and cooperative Harmony. They worked with renewed vigor, acutely aware of the dwindling time before impact. Dr. Osei made a breakthrough in using Harmony bioluminescence to create more efficient power sources, while Marcus and Cadence developed a new security system that blended technology and alien biology. As the network of generators neared completion, Elara couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The opposition from Dissonance's faction had been quiet since the sabotage, too quiet. She doubled the guards around the critical installations, human and Harmony working in pairs. Their caution proved prescient. Just days before the system was set to activate, Dissonance made his move. A swarm of bioengineered creatures, pulsing with angry red light, descended on the main control center. "Protect the core," Elara shouted, grabbing a makeshift weapon. Around her, humans and allied Harmony fought side by side against the attackers. In the chaos, Elara spotted Dissonance slithering towards the central console. With a burst of speed, she intercepted the rogue elder. "Stop," she commanded. "You'll doom your entire world." Dissonance's lights flashed defiantly. Better to face our fate with dignity than to corrupt the great rhythm with alien meddling. As they grappled, Elara saw Marcus sprinting towards them, determination etched on his face. With a flying tackle, he knocked dissonance away from the controls. The alien's appendages whipped out, striking Marcus across the face. He fell back, blood trickling from a gash on his cheek. Ilara seized the moment, pinning dissonance with a move she'd learned in academy hand-to-hand combat. "It's over," she panted. "Your people chose to work with us. Accept it." As Harmony security forces surrounded them, Dissonance's lights dimmed in defeat. The attack had been repelled, but at a cost. Equipment was damaged, people were injured, and precious time had been lost. In the aftermath, Ilara gathered her team and the Harmony elders. "We've lost too much time," she said gravely. "The original plan, it's no longer viable." A heavy silence fell over the group. Then Dr. Osei stepped forward, her eyes bright with a dangerous idea. "Captain, I think I have a solution, but you're not going to like it." As Zara outlined her plan, Ilara felt a mix of hope and dread. It was audacious, potentially suicidal, and their only remaining option. She looked around at her crew, humans who had crossed the stars and found themselves fighting to save an alien world, and at the Harmony, beings of music and light who had embraced these strange visitors in their time of need. "All right," Ilara said, her voice filled with determination. "Let's do this, together." As the twin suns of Harmony set, casting an ethereal glow across the alien landscape, the combined forces of humanity and the Harmony prepared for their final desperate gambit. The fate of an entire world hung in the balance, and the true test of their unlikely alliance was about to begin. The battle of wits and will. Dr. Zara Osei's plan was as brilliant as it was dangerous. With the original network of gravitational pulse generators damaged and time running short, they would have to take a more direct approach. The new strategy involved using the Horizon's remaining fusion drive to create a massive gravitational pulse, strong enough to nudge the moon's trajectory. The catch: the pulse would have to be generated from orbit. "We'll essentially be creating a controlled explosion in space," Zara explained, her eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "If we can position it correctly, the gravitational wave should be enough to alter the moon's course." Captain Ilara Chen studied the holographic projections, her brow furrowed. "And how do you propose we get the drive into orbit? Our shuttle was destroyed in the crash." Lieutenant Marcus Okafor stepped forward, his face still bearing the scar from the recent confrontation with Dissonance. "That's where our Harmony friends come in. Their bioships might be able to carry the drive." All eyes turned to Elder Resonance, whose appendages swayed thoughtfully. "Our vessels are attuned to the great rhythm. Carrying your technology would be challenging, but not impossible." Ilara nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "All right, Marcus, you and Zara will work with the Harmony to modify one of their ships. Yuki, I need you to continue refining our communication systems. If this is going to work, we'll need perfect coordination between ground control and the orbital team." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Ilara felt a familiar presence beside her. She turned to see Crescendo, the Harmony who had first welcomed them to this world. "You carry a heavy burden, Sky Captain," Crescendo hummed, its lights pulsing softly. Ilara sighed, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. "I never imagined we'd be in this position when we set out to explore the stars. The fate of your entire world rests on our shoulders." Crescendo's appendages brushed against Ilara's arm in what she had come to recognize as a gesture of comfort. "Perhaps that is why the great rhythm brought you to us. In discord, we find new harmonies." Over the next few days, the combined human and Harmony teams worked tirelessly to prepare for their daring mission. The fusion drive was carefully extracted from the Horizon's wreckage and modified to serve its new purpose. Meanwhile, a group of Harmony artisans worked to adapt one of their bioships to carry the human technology. The process was not without its challenges. The integration of Earth technology with the living vessels of the Harmony proved to be a delicate balancing act. More than once, the bioship rejected the modifications, its organic systems rebelling against the foreign elements. It was Ensign Yuki Tanaka who finally cracked the code. Working closely with Cadence, she developed a bioelectronic interface that allowed the ship to communicate with the fusion drive. "It's like we're teaching the ship a new song," Yuki explained, her eyes alight with wonder. "We're not forcing our technology onto it, we're inviting it to dance with us." As the launch date approached, tension mounted. The opposing faction, led by Dissonance, had been quiet since their failed attack, but Elara knew better than to let her guard down. She ordered round-the-clock security on the launch site, with mixed teams of humans and Harmony standing watch. The night before the launch, Elara couldn't sleep. She found herself wandering to the edge of the camp, gazing up at the alien sky. The doomed moon loomed large, a constant reminder of the threat they faced. "Trouble sleeping, Captain." Elara turned to see Marcus approaching, 2 steaming cups in hand. She accepted one gratefully, recognizing the aroma of the coffee-like beverage they had discovered on Harmony. "Just thinking about tomorrow," she replied. "So much could go wrong." Marcus nodded, his expression serious. "True, but think about how much has gone right. A few months ago, we were strangers to this world. Now we're working side by side with the Harmony to save their planet. Whatever happens tomorrow, we've already achieved something incredible." Elara smiled, feeling a surge of pride in her crew and their alien allies. "You're right. We've come too far to doubt ourselves now." As dawn broke, casting its multi-hued light across the launch site, final preparations were underway. The modified bioship pulsed with an otherworldly glow, the fusion drive nestled within its organic hull like a mechanical heart. Elara addressed the assembled teams, her voice carrying across the hushed crowd. "Today, we attempt something never before done in the history of either of our peoples. The risks are great, but the stakes are even greater. Together, we will save this world." As the countdown began, a disturbance at the edge of the crowd caught Elara's attention. To her shock, she saw Dissonance approaching, flanked by several of his followers. Harmony security moved to intercept them, but Elder Resonance held up a tendril, signaling them to wait. Dissonance glided forward, its lights pulsing in a complex pattern. "We have reconsidered our position," the translation device intoned. "The great rhythm speaks to all who listen. We have heard a new song." A ripple of surprise went through the crowd. Elara stepped forward, her posture cautious but open. "What are you saying, Dissonance?" The alien's appendages swayed in what Elara had come to recognize as a gesture of humility. "We offer our assistance. Our bioharmonics may aid in stabilizing the ship during its ascent." Elara exchanged glances with Elder Resonance, who nodded almost imperceptibly. It was a risk, but one they might need to take. "Very well," Elara said, "but know that we'll be watching you closely." With the unexpected addition of Dissonance's faction, the launch proceeded. The bioship rose from the ground, its organic hull shimmering as it accelerated towards the stars. On board, Marcus and Zara worked in perfect synchronization with their Harmony counterparts, guiding the vessel into position. From the ground control center, Elara and Yuki coordinated the complex dance of gravitational calculations and bioharmonic adjustments. The ship reached its designated position, and for a moment, all was still. Initiating gravitational pulse in 3, 2, 1, Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. A blinding flash lit up the sky, followed by a wave of energy that rippled through the air. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, imperceptibly at first, the looming moon began to shift its course. Cheers erupted from the control center as the tracking systems confirmed what their eyes were telling them. The plan was working. The moon's trajectory was altering, the collision course averted. But their celebration was premature. As the gravitational pulse dissipated, alarms began blaring across the control panels. "Captain," Yuki called out, her voice tense. "The ship's systems are destabilizing. The fusion drive is overloading." Elara's heart raced as she realized the implications. If the drive exploded in orbit, It could rain radioactive debris across half the planet. Marcus, Zara, do you copy? You need to eject the drive now. Static crackled over the comm, then Marcus's strained voice came through. Negative, Captain. The ejection system is jammed. We're going to have to take it out manually. A hush fell over the control center as the magnitude of the situation sank in. A manual ejection meant certain death for whoever stayed behind to do it. Ilara's mind raced, searching for alternatives, but she knew there were none. She opened her mouth to give the order, but before she could speak, another voice cut through the silence. I will do it. All eyes turned to Dissonance, its lights pulsing with a determination Ilara had never seen before. My actions brought discord to the great rhythm, the alien continued. Let my final act restore harmony. Before anyone could protest, Dissonance was moving, its form rippling as it interfaced directly with the ship's organic systems. On the view screens, they watched as the fusion drive was forcibly ejected, Dissonance along with it. A second, smaller explosion lit up the sky as the drive detonated safely away from the planet. In that flash of light, Ilara saw the silhouette of Dissonance, its form dissolving into the cosmic background. As the glow faded, a profound silence fell over the control center. Humans and Harmony alike stood in awe of the sacrifice they had just witnessed. The mission was a success, but the cost had been high. Elder Resonance's voice broke the silence, its tones somber yet filled with a new resolve. In Dissonance's final act, we find the truest harmony. Skyfallen, you have given us more than salvation. You have shown us a new way forward. Ilara nodded, her throat tight with emotion. As the bioship began its descent, carrying Marcus, Zara, and the others back to the surface, she turned to address the assembled teams. Today, we've achieved the impossible, she said, her voice carrying across the hushed crowd. We've saved a world and forged a bond between our peoples that will endure for generations. But our work is not done. Together, we will honor those who sacrificed, rebuild what was damaged, and explore the new harmonies we discovered. As the twin sons of Harmony set on this historic day, Ilara looked out over the alien landscape, forever changed by the events they had set in motion. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time since their crash landing, she felt a sense of true hope for the future. The great test had been passed, but the greatest adventure, the forging of a lasting alliance between humanity and the Harmony, was just beginning. Sacrifice and triumph. In the days following the successful diversion of the moon, a new rhythm settled over the planet Harmony. The immediate threat had passed, but the repercussions of their actions rippled through both human and Harmony societies. Captain Ilara Chen found herself navigating not just the physical aftermath of their mission, but also the complex emotional and cultural landscape that emerged in its wake. The bioship carrying Lieutenant Marcus Okafor, Dr. Zara Osei, and their Harmony counterparts had landed safely, bringing a wave of relief and celebration. But as the initial euphoria faded, the reality of their situation set in. The humans were still stranded on an alien world, their ship beyond repair, and the Harmony were facing unprecedented changes to their way of life. Ilara stood at the edge of the makeshift human settlement, gazing out at the alien landscape. The sky, once dominated by the looming threat of the moon, now seemed vast and full of possibility. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Elder Resonance, its appendages swaying gently in the breeze. Your thoughts are troubled, Sky Captain, Resonance hummed, its bioluminescent patterns pulsing softly. Ilara nodded, appreciating the alien's perceptiveness. We've achieved something miraculous, she said, but I can't help feeling that our work has only just begun. Resonance's lights flickered in what Ilara had come to recognize as agreement. The great rhythm has been altered. We must now learn to dance to this new song. Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Ensign Yuki Tanaka, her face flushed with excitement. Captain Elder, she said, bowing slightly to Resonance, we've made a breakthrough with the long-range communications array. We might be able to send a message to Earth. Ilara's heart raced at the news. Contact with Earth could mean rescue, supplies, and support, but it also meant facing the consequences of their actions and the massive changes they had brought to this alien world. "Well done, Ensign," Ilara said, masking her conflicting emotions. "Gather the senior staff. We need to discuss our next steps carefully." As Yuki hurried off, Ilara turned back to Resonance. "Elder, I believe it's time we had a serious discussion about the future of our people's relationship." Resonance's appendages rippled in a gesture of assent. "Indeed, Sky Captain, the Harmony Elders await your words." The meeting that followed was unlike any diplomatic negotiation in human history. In a chamber that blended human technology with Harmony bioarchitecture, representatives of both species gathered to chart a course for their shared future. Dr. Zara Osai presented her findings on the long-term effects of their gravitational intervention. "The Moon's new orbit has stabilized," she explained, "but it's caused subtle changes to Harmony's ecosystems. We're seeing accelerated evolution in some species, particularly those sensitive to gravitational fields." Marcus added, "And our presence here has introduced new variables. Earth bacteria, our technology, they're all having an impact for better or worse." Elder Resonance's voice resonated through the chamber. "The great rhythm adapts as it always has, but never before has it faced such rapid change." Ilara stood, addressing the assembled group. "We came to your world as explorers and became saviors by circumstance. Now, we find ourselves in the role of partners in shaping the future of Harmony. The question before us is, how do we move forward in a way that respects the great rhythm while embracing the potential of our cooperation?" The discussion that followed was intense and far-reaching. The Harmony, traditionally wary of rapid change, found themselves grappling with the implications of human scientific knowledge and technology. The humans, in turn, were challenged to consider their impact on an alien biosphere and the ethical implications of their continued presence. As the debate stretched on, Cadence, the young Harmony who had worked closely with Yuki, raised its appendages. Perhaps it hummed, its lights pulsing with nervous energy. "We should consider not just how humans can adapt to Harmony, but how Harmony can grow with humans." A ripple of surprise went through the assembly. Cadence continued, gaining confidence. "The great rhythm is not static, it evolves. Can we not see the arrival of the Skyfallen as part of this evolution?" Elder Resonance's lights flickered rapidly, considering. "You speak with wisdom beyond your cycles, young one. Indeed, perhaps this is the new Harmony we're meant to find." As the meeting progressed, a framework for cooperation began to take shape. The humans would share their scientific knowledge and technology, but under strict ethical guidelines to minimize their impact on Harmony's ecosystems. In return, the Harmony would teach the humans about their bioharmonic technologies and deep connection to their world. But the most surprising proposal came from Marcus. "What if," he suggested, his eyes alight with a spark of innovation, "we combine our knowledge to create something entirely new? A synthesis of human technology and Harmony bioengineering?" The idea sent a buzz of excitement through the chamber. The possibilities were staggering. Clean energy sources, advanced medical treatments, even new forms of space travel. As the session concluded, Ilara felt a sense of cautious optimism. They had taken the first steps towards a truly symbiotic relationship between their species. But challenges remained, not least of which was explaining their situation to Earth. Later that evening, as the twin suns of Harmony set in a spectacular display of color, Ilara stood before the jury-rigged communications array. Her senior staff and several Harmony elders gathered around her as she prepared to send humanity's first official message from an alien world. "This is Captain Ilara Chen of the Starship Horizon," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We are alive and well on a planet we've named Harmony. We've made first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and, well, it's one hell of a story." As Ilara detailed their adventures, the crash, the impending disaster, their desperate plan, and the birth of an interspecies alliance, she felt a profound sense of pride in what they had accomplished. They had come to harmony as explorers and become so much more. "We request assistance and await your response," she concluded. "But know this, we found something incredible here. A new harmony between species, a chance to grow and learn together. Whatever comes next, we face it not just as representatives of Earth, but as partners with the people of harmony." As the message was transmitted into the depths of space, Ilara turned to her assembled team, human and harmony alike. "Now we wait," she said, "and we continue the work we started here." Crescendo, who had been quietly observing, raised its appendages in a gesture that the humans had come to associate with hope. "The great rhythm has been forever changed by your presence, Skyfallen. But perhaps in this change, we will find a grander symphony than we ever imagined." As night fell on Harmony, its bioluminescent flora coming to life in a dazzling display, Ilara looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, and soon they would know humanity's response to their incredible tale. But whatever came next, she knew that the bonds forged here, between humans and the harmony, between two vastly different species united by curiosity and the will to survive, would shape the future of both their civilizations. The greatest adventure, she realized, was just beginning. A new beginning. 1 year had passed since Captain Ilara Chen sent humanity's first message from the alien world of Harmony. In that time, the planet had undergone a transformation that no one, human or Harmony, could have predicted. The dawn broke over a landscape that blended the organic architecture of the Harmony with unmistakably human elements. Solar panels that looked more like iridescent leaves captured the energy of the twin suns. Structures that seemed to grow from the ground-housed laboratories where human scientists worked alongside Harmony sages, exploring the frontiers of bioharmonic technology. Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking this new world, a data pad in her hand displaying the latest message from Earth. The response to their initial contact had been swift and enthusiastic. A relief mission had been dispatched immediately, bringing supplies, personnel, and a flurry of questions from an eager human race. But it was the second wave that had truly changed everything. Scientists, diplomats, and visionaries from Earth had flocked to Harmony, drawn by the promise of new knowledge and the chance to be part of an unprecedented interspecies collaboration. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Lieutenant Marcus Okafor's voice broke through Ilara's reverie. He joined her at the railing, his eyes scanning the horizon. Ilara nodded, a smile playing at her lips. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come." "Speaking of which," Marcus said, gesturing to her datapad, "any news from the folks back home?" Ilara's expression turned serious. "The United Earth Council has made their decision. They're formally recognizing Harmony as a sovereign ally and are proposing a comprehensive treaty for cultural and scientific exchange." Marcus let out a low whistle. "That's big. How do you think the Harmony will respond?" Before Ilara could answer, a melodic hum announced the arrival of Elder Resonance. The alien glided onto the balcony, its bioluminescent patterns shifting in what they had come to recognize as a gesture of greeting. "Your thoughts ripple with anticipation, Sky Friends," Resonance observed. "You have news from your distant home." Ilara shared the contents of the message, watching the play of lights across Resonance's form as the Elder absorbed the information. "A formal alliance," Resonance mused, its appendages swaying thoughtfully. "Once, such an idea would have been discordant to our people, but now it feels like the next natural progression in our shared symphony." The three stood in companionable silence for a moment, gazing out at the world they had shaped together. In the distance, a group of human children played with young Harmony, their laughter and harmonic hums blending in a joyous cacophony. "You know," Marcus said, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking about Dissonance lately, about his sacrifice." Ilara nodded solemnly. The memory of the once antagonistic Elder's final, heroic act still stirred complex emotions. Resonance's lights pulsed softly. Dissonance's choice marked a turning point for our people. It showed us that change, even painful change, can lead to greater harmony. Their contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Zara Osei and her harmony counterpart, Cadence. Both were practically vibrating with excitement. "Captain, Elder," Zara began, her eyes shining. "We've done it. The bioharmonic drive is operational." Ilara's eyebrows shot up. The bioharmonic drive was the culmination of a year's worth of collaboration between human and harmony scientists, a propulsion system that combined the efficiency of human technology with the harmony's innate connection to cosmic energies. "We've run the simulations," Cadence chimed in, its lights pulsing rapidly. "With this drive, we could reach Earth in a fraction of the time it took your ship to reach harmony." The implications were staggering. Not only could they establish regular contact with Earth, but they could also explore further into the galaxy, guided by the harmony's unique perception of cosmic rhythms. "Well done, both of you," Ilara said, her voice filled with pride. "I think it's time we called a full assembly." This news, combined with Earth's proposal, was standing on the brink of a new era. Hours later, Ilara found herself addressing a massive gathering of humans and harmony in the grand amphitheater they had constructed together. The space hummed with anticipation, a literal harmony of excited whispers and bioluminescent pulses. "A year ago," Ilara began, her voice carrying across the hushed crowd, "we came to this world as strangers, brought here by accident and facing what seemed like certain doom. Today, we stand here not as two separate peoples, but as partners, friends, and pioneers of a new kind of interstellar community." She outlined the Earth Council's proposal and the breakthrough of the bioharmonic drive. As she spoke, she could see the ripple of excitement spreading through the assembly. "The path before us is not without challenges," she continued. "We will need to navigate cultural differences, solve new scientific puzzles, and face the unknown together. But I believe that the harmony we have found here, between our peoples, with this world, and with the cosmic rhythms that connect us all, will guide us towards a future brighter than any of us could have imagined alone." Elder Resonance glided forward, its form shimmering with a depth of color Ilara had never seen before. "The great rhythm sings a new song," it intoned, its voice resonating through the amphitheater. "We, the harmony, choose to add our voice to this cosmic chorus. Let our worlds move forward together, in symphony." The assembly erupted in a celebration that defied description, a blend of human cheers and applause with the harmony's harmonic hums and bioluminescent displays. It was the sound of two worlds, once separate, now inextricably linked. As the celebration continued around her, Ilara found a quiet moment to slip away. She made her way to a hilltop overlooking both the new settlement and the original crash site of the horizon. The broken hull of the ship still stood, now overgrown with harmony flora, a monument to where their journey had begun. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Crescendo, the first harmony she had ever communicated with, now a close friend and advisor. "Your thoughts sing of both joy and melancholy, Sky Captain," Crescendo observed. Ilara smiled. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and wondering what's next." Crescendo's appendages brushed against Ilara's arm in a gesture of affection. "The future is a song yet unwritten, but now we compose it together." As if in response to Crescendo's words, a bright light streaked across the sky. The first test flight of a ship equipped with the new bioharmonic drive. Ilara watched its arc, a tangible symbol of the future they were building. She thought of the message she would soon send back to Earth, accepting the alliance on behalf of both humans and harmony. She thought of the adventures that lay ahead, the new worlds they would discover together, and the challenges they would face. But most of all, she thought of the unlikely harmony they had found here, a harmony born of crisis, forged in sacrifice, and now singing with the promise of a shared future among the stars. As the twin suns of harmony set, casting a world in an ethereal glow, Ilara Chen, once captain of a lost expedition, now ambassador of a new interstellar alliance, looked to the sky with hope and determination. The greatest adventure of all was just beginning, and its song would echo across the cosmos.